Why did we intervene in Europe and Latin America? First, there's moral diplomacy. We thought it was in their best interest, and therefore it was our responsibility to guide them. Wilson was popular in Europe because he promised the Europeans that they could choose their own style of government after the peace process, which is called self-determination. He assumed that they would choose democracy, although this plan failed. They weren't able to choose their style of government. In Latin America, he left democracy as the only option. The second reason was security, and this is the biggest reason. If they can do it there, why not expand to the U.S., which basically means if Europeans can take over Latin America, who's to say they won't try to expand to the U.S. as well? Third, we believed that democracy is beneficial because the more commonalities, the better relations we have with the country. How did we dominate? Financial supervision, or dollar diplomacy under Taft, was a huge thing. Secondly, penetration of the economy. We would trade with them. We'd buy their raw materials, make things, and sell the finished product to them. So we'd trade, and then they'd have our finished items, which led to an acceptance of our products and the use of our products, and then the dependence on our products, and that dependence molds society. Third, we imposed our will politically. For example, the Monroe Doctrine made it so that we could intervene if they were jeopardizing their own sovereignty. 4. The U.S. went in and controlled their primary resources. 5th, there was a neo-colonialistic relationship. It was colonialism in the sense that we imposed our economic will and greatly profited. There are several domination examples, including in 1914 in Nicaragua. The Bryan-Chamorro Treaty was passed, which basically took the economic control of Nicaragua from the U.S. businessmen and gave it to the U.S. government. Second, we paid off Nicaraguan debts for 2 conditions, and we didn't let them refuse. 1, they had to give us the right to build a second canal. We didn't actually want the canal, but Nicaragua was the only other logical place to build a canal. So if we had exclusive rights to building a canal in Nicaragua, it secured our rights to canals in Latin America. Secondly, they had to give us access to 2 naval bases. So kind of us. The third example, not the third thing they had to give us, there were only 2. In Haiti, we gave military aid and training for the side we wanted to win, and they became a protectorate, which is a territory that is provided assistance and protection. They became our protectorate, like we protected them. Yeah. So what the heck allowed this? Who would put up with it? Number 1. England and Germany were the only economic trade competition for the U.S. and Latin America, and the blockades that they were having during World War I pretty much nullified any trade possibilities with Latin America, so the U.S. took the spot, and we were the only one for Latin America to trade with, so the U.S. could dictate anything it wanted, price, pretty much whatever, and that leads to dependency. Secondly, the commercial infiltration led to dependence, which made it possible to jack up the prices, because dependence makes wants seem like needs. In 1918, the Webb-Pomeranian Act was passed, which exempted U.S. exports from antitrust laws. Number 4, there was a lack of diversification. The colonial powers had divided them that way. This region is good for coal, this one's good for minerals, this one's good for corn. You see the point. So all of their eggs were in one basket. And number 5, there were government regulations. Latin America attempted to overcome the domination by uniting Latin America. But that was prevented by quite a few things, including lack of transportation, lack of communication, language barriers, geographic barriers, rivalries, and nationalism. So that's quite a mountain to overcome. From 1933 to 1945, there was the era of indirect hegemony. Hegemony is dominance. Before the 20s, there was direct dominance, but after the 20s, there was indirect dominance. So why would we go from being directly dominant to indirectly dominant? I'll tell you why. Number 1, the world saw the U.S. as hypocrites. The more they thought that, the harder it was for the U.S. to get from them what we wanted. Number 2, Latin American countries were becoming more democratic, so we wanted to work with them some. We like democracy. It's a good thing. Number 3, there was less competition, so we didn't have to worry about England and Germany anymore, so we could be a little more lenient. And number 4, in 1933, there were the good neighbor policies under FDR to improve relations. In 1934, there were no more troops in Latin America except in the Panama Canal and Guantanamo Bay. So how was the U.S. indirectly dominant? There are import bank loans. We loaned money to Latin America with no strings attached. We wanted them to like us and give us what we wanted. Number 2, we gave aid and assistance. We would train or fund or equip the revolutionaries in the autocratic. Number 2, we would aid and assist the revolutionaries, which basically meant train them, fund them, equip them, when they were rebelling against the autocratic governments. We also gave financial assistance to autocratic governments to put down the revolutionaries. We only did one or the other, whichever side we wanted to win, whichever one was more beneficial to the U.S.